Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to our first video practice with Listening First Yoga. My name is Marissa. I am the founder and the lead teacher of Listening First Yoga, and we offer group and individual trauma-sensitive yoga practices here in the Nashville area and online for anyone in the United States. So we're here in Nashville, Tennessee. That's on Shawnee, Cherokee, and Yuchi land. And I am here at Steadfast and True Yoga, which is one of the host sites, yoga studio sites for our group and individual sessions. So what I have for you today to share is a seated practice, and this practice focuses mostly on the upper body. So you might feel or notice your neck, your shoulders, your upper back, or the upper front part of your body. And so this is a practice that you can do seated on the ground. So I'm going to show it seated on my mat back here, and I'm actually going to sit on the edge of a blanket. Or you might choose to do this practice sitting in a chair or on some furniture. So you really can engage with this practice however you'd like. All of the shapes or movements that I'm going to offer are optional. You can choose if you want to make those shapes or if you'd like to do something else. And it's also optional how you engage with this practice. So any of the feelings that I mentioned you might be feeling or noticing, you can choose if you want to engage with those feelings or if you'd rather direct your attention elsewhere. You can also feel free to take a break at any time. So if you find that this practice is useful for you, we do offer these virtual practices free of charge right now. But if you are able to make a donation of between $5 and $20, we're going to use those funds to provide scholarships for folks who want to do individual one-on-one yoga sessions but don't have the resources to pay for them right now. So if you'd like, you can join me. I'm going to move back to my mat. We'll start our practice. All right. So if you'd like to join in some movement practice today, you might come to a seated position to begin. And maybe you want to sit cross-legged. You could sit up on the edge of something. I'm on the edge of my blanket here. Or you might choose to sit kneeling, sitting back on your heels. If you're at home and you want to sit in a chair or on a couch, you could. So however you want to sit, you might find a way to kind of settle in to your seat. And then maybe you look around the space that you're in. And it's kind of orienting to your surroundings. Maybe you're practicing in a really familiar space. Maybe you listen for any sounds that you hear in the room or outside the room. Maybe you notice the temperature of the air. And then if you'd like, you might notice the connection of your seat to whatever surface is supporting you. So maybe you feel your seat resting against the ground or against your chair or whatever you might be sitting on. There might be a little bit of gentle movement in your body, or you might choose some stillness. And maybe you bring your awareness to the crown of your head. Maybe just lightly resting your awareness at the crown of your head. You could imagine that the crown of your head could kind of gently float up toward the ceiling. And if you'd like to bring in some movement, maybe you start to kind of shift your body from side to side. That's one way you could engage in some movement. Maybe shifting your body from side to side. Maybe you'd like to kind of move yourself forward and back. So if you're choosing to engage in some movement, you might be shifting from side to side, or you might move forward and back. You can choose. And whether you're choosing movement or stillness as you begin your practice, maybe you sense inward and see if there's an intention you'd like to set for your practice. Maybe it's evening or morning or afternoon where you are. If there is an intention, maybe you hold it lightly. So we don't necessarily need our practice to change us or fix us. We can be present with whatever's there. So if you'd like, you could continue with the movement that you've chosen, if you've chosen movement. Or another option is to move your shoulders in a circle around your seat. So an option if you'd like to move your shoulders in a circle around your seat. And if you're choosing your circle, you can choose the size of your circle, how big or how small. And you can choose the speed of your circle, how fast or how slow. There might be a point that you want to pause and take your circle in the opposite direction. You're welcome to. And if you're noticing the connection of your seat to the floor, it's possible that as you're moving, if you choose to move, you notice that connection shifting with you. So you're welcome to continue with these circles if you choose. Or if you'd like, you could bring yourself back to what feels like your center. And then an option if you'd like to lean back slightly in your seat. So maybe making this kind of C shape with your spine. Your shoulders might come a little forward, your head could drop. You could linger here, or if you'd like, you could start to lean a little bit forward, maybe lifting your collarbones. Maybe shoulders stay neutral, or maybe they draw back. So you could stay here. Or you might kind of move back and forth in between. Maybe leaning back, rounding in your spine. Maybe shifting forward, lifting your collarbone. So perhaps moving through this kind of arching and rounding movement, or perhaps choosing to linger for a time in either shape. You might notice the connection of your seat to the floor, or maybe you notice the movement of your breath. So you're welcome to stay with this movement if you choose. Or if you'd like, you could come back to what feels like the center. And an option to kind of lean toward one side. So you might drop one hand toward one side. If you're on the ground, it could rest on the ground, or it might kind of just drop to the side if you're in a chair. Your opposite arm could rest on your opposite side, or it could float up or over. You could linger in your side bend, or at any point you could pass back through center. You could let your opposite arm come down, maybe lean the other way. So your opposite arm could rest on your side, or it could float up or maybe over. So you could linger in your side bend, or you might choose to float back and forth in between. Maybe side bending one direction, maybe side bending the other direction. So maybe lingering on one side, or maybe flowing back and forth in between, perhaps finding your own rhythm. You're welcome to continue with this movement if you choose. Or if you'd like, you could explore a twist toward one side. So one hand might come behind you, your other hand could rest on your opposite leg. You might linger in your twist, maybe adding a little breath here if that feels comfortable with you. And then when you feel ready, you could release. Maybe you turn and twist the opposite way. So you could bring your other hand behind you. You could rest your other hand on your opposite leg. Maybe you linger in this twist. You could add a little breath if you choose. And if you'd like, you could bring yourself back toward the center. So an option to float your arms up toward the ceiling any amount. You can choose how far you'd like to lift your arms. As they come down, you could bring yourself forward over your seat any amount. So depending on how you're sitting, you can choose how far forward you come. Your hands could rest on your legs to support you, or they could come out in front of you. You might linger in your fold. You might choose to kind of lift and lower. So maybe lingering in your shape, or maybe moving in and out. You're welcome to come out at any time. You might be here maybe for 3 more counts. Maybe for 2 more counts. Maybe for 1 more count. When you're ready, you could bring yourself back up toward your center. You might pause here for just a moment, perhaps noticing how you feel. So from here, if you'd like, an option to drop your chin toward your chest, maybe lengthening in the back of your neck. So you might linger here, or you might kind of move your head from side to side. So maybe lingering with your chin toward your chest, or maybe kind of gently moving your head from side to side. It's possible that you notice sensation in the back of your neck, or maybe in the side of your neck. It's also possible that you don't notice a lot of sensation here. So you could stay with this if you choose. Or another option is to let your right ear come toward your right shoulder. So maybe bringing your right ear toward your right shoulder, you might notice a lengthening sensation in the side of your neck. It's also possible that you don't notice that sensation. And you might stay right where you are. Or another option is to bring your left arm out to the left, maybe moving your arm up and down. Or if you'd like, you could bring your arm behind you. So you could bend your elbow. Maybe you look to hold your right elbow with your left fingers, or maybe your hand kind of rests on your low back. And maybe you kind of linger in stillness here. Maybe there's some little micro movements of your head. Maybe you notice that you're breathing. So you might choose to linger here, or when you feel ready, you could release anything you might have a hold of. Maybe bring your head back on straight for a moment. And if you'd like, you could drop your chin toward your chest, maybe lengthening in the back of your neck, maybe just a little tilt from side to side of your head. Or if you'd like, you could let your left ear come toward your left shoulder. And so you might linger here, maybe noticing if there's any sensation in the side of your neck. And then it's always possible that you don't notice sensation in the places that I mentioned. So you could stay like this, or another option is to bring your right arm out, maybe moving it up and down. Or you could bring your arm behind you, so you could bend at your elbow. Maybe you hold on to the crook of your left elbow with your right fingers, or maybe your hand kind of rests against your back. And you might rest in stillness here. There might be these little micro movements of your head. Maybe you notice that you're breathing. So you're welcome to linger here. Now, when you feel ready, you could release anything you have a hold of. Maybe you bring your head back on straight. And if you'd like, you could explore some movement of your shoulders. So maybe you lift your shoulders up toward your ears. You could kind of shrug them up and down. Or another option might be to lift your shoulders up and then down your back, kind of circling in your shoulders. So you might be lifting your shoulders up and down. You might be choosing to circle your shoulders. You're circling your shoulders. Your hands could rest on your legs, or you could bring your hands to kind of rest on the tops of your shoulders and make circles with your elbows. So if you'd like, you could notice that you're breathing, or you might notice the connection of your seat to the floor. So maybe making circles, maybe you're making circles with your elbows, or maybe your hands are resting in your lap. You could continue with this movement if you'd like. Or when you feel ready, you could let that go. And an option to kind of sweep your arms up, maybe you interlace your hands behind your head. So an option if you'd like to interlace your hands behind your head, you could stay upright, or you could let your chin drop toward your chest. And your elbows could stay neutral, or they could come in. You might feel this in the back of your neck, or you could lean back slightly and bring a curve into your upper back. So you could linger here, or if you'd like, you could lift your head, maybe your elbows open any amount. You could stay neutral, or you could press your heart through. And if you'd like, you could kind of bow back in, letting your elbows come in. So maybe you linger in one or the other shape, or maybe you move back and forth in between. If you'd like to sync movement to breath, it might be that as you inhale, you lift your heart, and as you exhale, you round. And you might have your own way that you'd like to move and breathe. So you might continue with this movement just as it is. Or if you'd like, another option is to open your elbows and maybe look toward the right. And you could come back toward center. You could try looking toward the left. So maybe you're opening and closing your arms, or maybe you're kind of looking toward the right and then looking toward the left. You're welcome to stay wherever you are. And when you feel ready, you could put your head back on straight. You could release your arms, letting them fall by your side. You might notice how you're feeling for just a moment. And if you'd like, you might open your elbows by opening your arms to kind of this cactus shape. And then if you wanted to, you could cross one arm in front of the other, so maybe right over left, resting your hands on your shoulders. You could bring your elbows towards you, or you could drop your head toward your elbows. Maybe you linger here. You could rock from side to side, maybe noticing your breath. Or if you'd like, you could open your elbows, and you could switch the cross of your arms, maybe bringing your other arm on top. So maybe you rest your hands on your shoulders or the tops of your shoulders. You could lift your elbows towards you. You could drop your head toward your elbows. You could linger here, maybe imagining you could breathe into the back of your shoulder, so the space between your shoulder blades. Or if you'd like, you could flow here, maybe inhaling to open your arm, exhaling to cross, maybe dropping your head or lifting your elbow. And you could inhale to open, and you could exhale to cross with the other arm on top. So maybe lingering in a shape or maybe flowing back and forth in between, you can choose. You might choose to kind of stay with this movement. You could also come back to any of the movements that we've done previously. Or when you feel ready, you could let your arms fall back by your sides. Then if you'd like, you could take your right hand and you could find a place to kind of rest or hold on your left leg or knee. And then if you'd like, you could kind of lean a little bit toward the right. Your arm could stay straight or a little bend could come in. Maybe your left arm floats up or it could rest on your side. So if your left arm floats up, you might linger here or you might kind of move up and down. Your arm could kind of float up with you as you lean, and you could come back down. So that's one option. Another option is that as your arm floats up and you lean, as you start to come back up, you could cross your left arm over your right, and you could switch your grip. So you could hold on with the left hand. Maybe you lean back with your arms crossed a little bit. And then as you come forward, you could release, holding on with your left hand. A right arm could come up. And you could lean, or you could come in and out. Maybe your arm is floating up, or maybe it rests on your side. Good. So you could continue with this. Or if you'd like, you could switch, bringing your right arm across, holding on, maybe leaning back. And as you come forward, releasing your left hand so your left arm could float up. Maybe it comes down. You could hold on. You could lean back. As you release, you could let your right arm float up. Good. You could bring your right arm across. You could hold on. You could lean back. You could release. Let your left arm come up. So it's possible that you found this kind of circling with your shoulders, reaching around, switching your cross. Or it's possible that you decided to stay with another movement that we've done previously. Your practice. You can make it your own. When you feel ready to let this go, you might bring yourself upright, and an option to bring your arms out in front of you, kind of crossing at your elbows. And then you could bend your elbows, and you might bring your fingertips up. So it might be that your arms are farther apart. You can bring them toward each other any amount. But if you're feeling a lot right here, you might not need to bring them closer together. It's really up to you. If you are not feeling a lot with your hands touching and you want to feel a little bit more, you could bring your palms to touch. So really you can be anywhere from here to here. You could also return to bring your hands on your shoulders. And if you'd like, you could move your elbows up and down. Or you could move your elbows side to side. Or you could shrug your shoulders forward and then pull them back. All right, so when you feel ready, if you choose, you could release, letting your arms kind of fall by your side. And if you'd like, you could bring your arms out in front of you again. And maybe you cross with the other arm on top. You could also do the same side again. And if you'd like, you could kind of bring your elbows to bend. So hands might be a little further apart. They could come toward each other. Palms could touch. You can choose where you want to have your hands if you're making this shape at all. Maybe you move your elbows up and down. Or maybe you want to move your elbows side to side. Or another option might be to kind of move or shrug your shoulders forward and then pull them back. Maybe you notice any sensation that might be present in your shoulders, or maybe you notice that you're breathing. When you feel ready, if you'd like, you could unwind, letting your arms fall by your sides. Maybe you lean toward one side, your opposite arm could float up if you choose. Maybe you lean toward the other side, your opposite arm could float up if you choose. Maybe you work through these side bends, flowing side to side. That's one option. Or another option might be to come towards center and sweep both arms up toward the ceiling, any amount. And then you could lower your arms back down. And you might choose to sweep your arms out to the side. Or you might prefer to bring your arms up to the center. You might choose to have your arms kind of straighter, more engaged. Or you could let your arms be a little bit looser, kind of flowing through this movement. If you'd like, you can notice your breath. When you feel ready, if you choose, you could let your arms come down. You might come into any amount of forward fold. So again, your hands could come out in front of you. Maybe they rest on your legs to support your fold. Or maybe you round as far forward as you would like to go. You could linger in your fold. You might choose to lift and lower. Maybe you notice your breath. Or maybe you notice the connection of your seat to the chair or your seat to the floor. You're welcome to come out at any time. You might be here maybe for 3 more counts, maybe for 2 more counts, maybe for 1 more count. When you're ready, you could bring yourself back toward the center. Maybe you pause, noticing how you feel. There might be a little sway in your body, or you might choose stillness. Hands could rest on your legs, or maybe you bring your hands to rest on your body. You might find some gratitude for coming to your practice today just as you are, and being here with your body just as you are. I'm grateful for your practice, and I wish you peace. Thank you so much.